Hi guys, once again welcome to Farming in Africa, and today we're going to be talking about one of the most important aspects of livestock farming and something that most of you have been asking me. If you know me or if you're in the livestock industry, then you know that the number one important aspect of livestock farming is nutrition. Number two is animal health. Number three is your management. Today we're going to be focusing on one of these major things, and that is why you can see all these medications around me. So if you're interested in keeping your animals healthy and what you need and should do in order to have healthy farm, then stay tuned as we talk about animal health in this session. Thank you guys very much for staying tuned for us to discuss animal health. I will begin by saying that, as you guys know, I'm a businessman and a farmer and not a licensed veterinary. So everything that I'm going to share with you here is based on what I practice at my farm. And as you guys know, our goal is to share the information out there so that you guys can make the right decision. This is not the only one-stop research center. Do your own research, combine it with whatever we give you here, and make the right decision for yourself. So everything I have around me, everything I'm going to share with you is what we practice at Semanhyia Farms, and we want to put it out there to whoever this could be helpful with. But before I dive into it, why am I even doing this video? I know a lot of you come to me to report issues. You come to our agro shop in Achimota to tell us what your problem is. You call me to tell me your goat is having this issue, your cattle is having this issue, and I try to help as many as I can. But obviously my time will always be limited because there are thousands of you, and that's why I'm doing this video, to really share with the general public for free what I do at my farm and what you can learn as well. But most importantly, I was flying about a week ago from Kumasi to Accra, and at the airport a gentleman approached me and started talking about the usual thing, which is, you're my fan, I've been watching you on YouTube, how is the situation in Sinase, and so on and so forth. And in our conversation, he actually pointed out that, did you know that till my dad and I found your channel, we will always kill our goats when they are sick? And I asked him why. And he says, because we've never thought there are medications for goats. We think goats do not need vaccinations, do not need any medication. So we always kill them. And that was very shocking to me, right? And I think he probably might not be the only one. And therefore, it is very important, as much as you guys have seen me medicate my goats, to also share with you that your goats do not need to die when they are sick, right? They can be treated. I know goats are still very domesticated, and therefore we do not really medicate them, but they are also living beings. Even trees, right? We do need to give them certain things for them to grow healthy. How much more like living being, which is a livestock. So the same way we treat cattle, the same way we treat our pigs, the same way we have to treat our goats. And therefore today I'm going to make some time and share with you some of our knowledge. And I was just telling the team, it's difficult to pick which angle to actually go by this, because we can go all the way from establishing the disease, the symptoms of it, right, that you have to look for once you find it, the product that you have to use, your booster, and then at what stage, even at what level do you give to that animal based on their weight. When do you do your booster? And then again, when do you do it? Is that goat pregnant? Is it a male? Is it a female? And so on and so forth. So today I'm going to give you guys a general overview of some of the basic things that you need to know as a livestock farmer, whether goats, cattle, sheep, or pigs, so that you have that basis down. And then as time goes on, I will be focusing on antibiotics, I'll focus on vaccinations, I'll focus on dewormers, and so on and so forth. But in general, what are we looking at? So as I said, the first most important thing in livestock farming is your nutrition. I believe just like human beings, if you feed yourself well, right, you'll have a healthy life, right? So people say, if you don't eat like a medicine, you rather drink medicine like your food. right? So my first point is make sure that your goats are getting the right nutrition food, whether it being pigs, sheep, whatever. The nutrition value needs to be there. If they are not healthy, they are prone to diseases very quickly. Once you've been able to establish that, which is by your forage you have, by planting your grass, we also have the processed food if you have that, or if you have a pallet machine, combined all your minerals together and make sure that they are getting that nutrients that they need. Once you have that, obviously as farmers, change of weather, even human beings, recently there was a flu going around because the weather was just changing. We're transitioning from raining season to the dry season. I caught cold. I don't know about you. Maybe you did as well. But even that, brings diseases. The same thing with the animals. With the change of environment, with the change of weather, with the change of soil. Most of us know we bring a lot of exotic breeds from South Africa and other countries into Ghana. Once these breeds come here, they are exposed to certain viruses, parasites that they don't even have in their soil, and therefore they need to be treated. Right. So all these diseases, let's come and put them together. So from my understanding as a farmer, right, so I can categorize all the diseases into different stages. I don't know the scientific word for it, but there is the virus, right? Then you have your bacterials. Then you have your parasites, right? So these are the three things that as a farmer, I'm aware of that I try to tackle. With my viruses, what do I use to tackle them? So I use vaccinations to prevent them, right? So what are some of these viruses that are there? So recently you all heard about anthrax that happened. There was a break of anthrax in the country a couple of months ago. PPR is also, so these are vaccines that exist to prevent this virus whenever there is an outbreak or whenever we know that we live with them and therefore we need to prevent them. So as a farmer and even human beings, depending on what stage you are, you need a vaccination to be able to prevent certain viruses that we are aware is within our surrounding. So if you're a goat farmer, cattle farmer, sheep farmer, pig farmer, you need to have and know your vaccines, which is viruses that are within your neighborhood or your continent that you are fighting against. Then you come to your bacteria. Again, what bacterials are within your surroundings that you need to fight with. And I fight bacterials with what? With my antibiotics, right? Then the last thing is what? Is your parasites. So parasites in either junior high school or high school, we all learn that there's ecto and endoparasites, right? So what you can see on the animal's body or even human beings on our body and what is within us. So the worms, you're talking about your ticks, your all those things are under parasites, and therefore you need medications, pour-ons to fight those things. So now that we've established those three things, or I don't know what they are called, enzymes, whatever, that causes diseases in our livestock, now we can now start to fight them, right? So in Ghana specifically, and most African countries, some of the common vaccinations are, PPL. So PPL is sold everywhere. If you go to your veterinary station in your community, you can ask them for PPL. At my farm, I do PPL every 6 months. So twice a year, I do PPL. Whenever I bring in foreign goats from wherever they are coming from, I make sure that I do PPL the moment they arrive after a week, just to make sure that, they don't get any virus from our community here, because that is well established. Then there is like psoriasis, which is also another virus that you need to treat, or I treat here at my farm. And with that, I use Oviclos P. Oviclos P is actually from South Africa, which we also have at the agro shop, and that's what I use in treating that. And that is basically, you're looking at your puppy kidney, you're looking at your black leg, and so on and so forth. I also do that 6 months. As I said, I can go on and on and on when I pick one disease and the products. And now let's go a little bit deep. So with Oviclos, what I do is, as I said, I do it twice a year. And the twice a year means every 6 months. So I mostly start with pregnant whether those or whether you have a cow or whatever you have. So I start with a pregnant one. 4 weeks before that goat give birth, I will give it Oviclos P. And when I do that, my goal is that within that 4 weeks, that vaccine will then be transferred to the kid as well, right? So when the kid is born, the baby goat is born, the baby goat will have the vaccine in them to last them for about 4 weeks before I give another booster to them. Then I'll start their own fresh cycle, and then I'll give it to them as well. And then I wait for the next cycle of the female goat, sheep, whatever you have, and then I'll do the same thing. So twice a year I do that. If it's a male, then what I'll do is I'll do every 6 months. I do it in 4 weeks. I'll give it a booster, and then that's it. And then the next 6 months I will do it again. So that's the cycle of what I do. Then I spoke about anthrax. Anthrax, somebody might say anthrax is not in Ghana. If you want to take that risk, that is definitely up to you. I know recently we had an outbreak in the north. It didn't get to the south. I don't have the right data, but I did my research about every vaccination, every disease in goat, because especially with us, we are bringing the goats from different places. I don't want to take the risk of whether it's here. I would rather they are immune to it in case there is an outbreak. You don't know who or what somebody is bringing into the country, passing backyard, and so on. So as a farmer, I want to protect my investment. So I'll go ahead and do anthrax as well. With anthrax, what I use is Dicasio. So Dicasio is also another medication actually from South Africa that we bring into the country as well for that vaccination. So that's what I use, and I use the same procedure as I will use Oviclos P for the vaccination. Then I'll go to my vet and get PPR from the veterinary service, and then again do the same thing with that. I think these are the three major vaccinations that I use here at the farm. That doesn't mean that's the only thing you have to do. Your research, you can add to that, but with our medication plan, that's what we actually follow here at the farm. So moving away from vaccination, again, as I said, do your research, make sure that you understand the viruses that are in your area, contact your vet, and seek more help. But if you think what I've given you is enough, then there you go. That's why we share it, but the decision is yours. Moving away from vaccination, we want to talk about antibiotics. Antibiotics has a lot of, I think it's good, bad. It really helps as a farmer to have antibiotics on your farm. But again, I think we over abuse antibiotics. Every single disease, we go for an antibiotics and we put it in, right? And I think that also reduces the quality of your meat. And antibiotics can actually have an impact on humans if it's not regulated right. So a lot of the antibiotics, when you actually inject into an animal, you need to make sure that it takes about 21 days before that animal is slaughtered for meat or the milk is even consumed. If we don't do this, there are some hormones that might be transferred into human beings. So please, as farmers, let's make sure that we're doing the right thing when we give an antibiotics to our animals. That being said, I understand the importance of antibiotics and what it needs to do for us, right? So it's basically fighting bacterials, and there are so many bacterials that bring so many diseases, right? And one of the most common ones here is pneumonia. So a lot of us with our goats, you will see a goat that's very dull, especially in this dry season where it's a bit cold and dusty. They could easily catch pneumonia. And one of the things is fever. Again, going back to examining your goat. Whenever you think your animal is sick, the first thing you need to do before you pick your antibiotics or your vaccination is to check the temperature of that goat or sheep or cow or whatever you have, right? You want to be able to do that. So you put your thermometer either at the back or in front, and you make sure that you check the thermometer to see that it doesn't have a high fever. If it does, then now you start looking at the symptoms and look for what could be the reason. Is this because of worms? Is it because of is it a parasite? Is it a bacteria? Is it a virus? If you have a test, that's where you do all those tests to identify the virus so that you treat it. If you don't and you think it's a bacteria, then you look at the signs, right? So is it coughing? Is it bleeding? Does it have high fever? Is the nose running? Then you're looking at signs for pneumonia, right? And what I will use for that is I will use either Draxin, or there is another medication called Mazitect. We don't have here, but we do have Mazitect always at the farm. Draxin and Mazitect is what we normally use for pneumonia, and it's been very helpful because pneumonia is something you get very easily. A little switch of weather can result in pneumonia. When it's raining, it gets very cold, very muddy. You can get pneumonia. When they are feeding, especially hay, hay is dry, so it has a lot of dust. So if you pick your hay and you even do this, you start there's a lot of dust coming out. When it's the dry season and the grass they are grazing on is actually very dusty, they can get the same thing with human being. If somebody's sweeping like a dusty area, you're standing there, all those dusts can cause flu. And with goats, you get a lot of pneumonia, and that's one antibiotic that you can use. You can use different antibiotics, intramuscular or under the skin, depending on what it is to trust. It just depends on what bacteria that you're fighting. So the moment you see these signs, please do your research. Make sure that you know what bacteria you're fighting. Get your medication, read about it, see what bacteria it kills, and then you'll be able to administer it as well. Make sure you buy the quality medication. As you guys know, there's a lot out there. Do your research. I bring my medications from South Africa because that's where my goats are coming from, and therefore I want to continue the same medication plan and antibiotics and stuff that they are aware of. And so that is it about bacterials. Let's move on to parasites. So as I said in the beginning, parasites, endoparasites, mostly they are all very, very dangerous and can easily kill a goat. So what you're going to see is that they're not going to be eating well. They're going to grow very skinny if you have endoparasite worms, and they have so many worms. So there's tapeworm, roundworm. Let me look at this. So this actually has wireworm, brownworm, hookworm as well, and this is used for both cattle, sheep, goats, even ostrich and horses. This one we also brought from South Africa, and that's what we use in deworming. So basically we'll put our holes in there, we'll have our gun, we have the millimeters, I think it's 10 per goat, so then we just draw it, and then every press gives 10 into the mouth, and that's how we treat the worm. So we do deworming. It's a tricky thing. So some people will tell you do it every 3 months. Some people will say in the rainy season even do 2 months. I've tried all of that, but I've grown to a point where I'm able to tell when a goat needs a dewormer or not. By just, you can check from the eye, beneath the eye, how pink it is, how light pink it is. You can check by just pressing the gum. When you release it, you can check how much blood actually pumps back. That should tell you whether it needs a dewormer or not. You can check from the feces once you enter the pen to see if this goat needs a dewormer or not. So if you have that skills, then do that before you go and give a dewormer. But if you don't, then the best option is to do it at least every 3 months. But then what kind of worm are you actually killing? Are you killing a tapeworm? Are you killing a roundworm? Are you killing a wireworm? You have to, again, be able to differentiate. Otherwise, you'll be using a dewormer and it's not going to work. So even if you come to our shop, please make sure that you come with pictures, come with descriptions, so that we'll be able to help you fight the battle. Otherwise, you might buy it and it will not work. The good thing about dewormers is that they mostly kill more than like 3 or 4 worms. So once you use one, but if it's not working, then you have to change it. So that's it with the ectoparasites. If you come to the ecto, then you're looking at your ticks, your fleas, and so on, that is on the skin, under the hair of your goat, cattle, and that there are so many other medications that you can use. What do we have here? I think this does it. So this is liverflix medicine against immature adults. Yeah, for cattle, sheep. So that's Mesiflix as well. This we also brought from South Africa. It's basically like you're spraying. So there are other local, you know, medicines that you can use, mix them proportionally with water and spray your animals. At our farm, we do spraying every 2 weeks. So again, depending on how bad it is, you can. But if you have a pour on, we don't have a pour on here, but we have at the shop as well. Pour ons are much more expensive and smaller. And what you do is that once you have a pour on, you don't need to spray, but you just basically pour it at the back of the goat. So you start from the horns and then you pour it all the way to the tail. It's meant to spread, so you don't need to use a lot. Mostly I will use like a needle, take the metal off it, extract it, and then I will just pour it slowly to the tail. And once it gets to the tail, leave it. It will spread all the way into the stomach, and then you can put some in the underarms and the feet as well, so that when they smell it and they decide to go down, they can feel the medicine as well. So pour on is another better option. I use pour on as well. I've had a goat that was very he's always having ticks on them, and therefore I couldn't wait 2 weeks to spray, but every day I have to use my pour on till I was able to get rid of all those ticks as well. So that's with parasites. They can be very dangerous, so you want to treat that. They go into the blood and then they stay again on the body. But if you have a goat that has a lot, or a cattle that has a lot of ticks on them, then you should know that it's just not on the body, because they've also bitten the livestock, and it could be in the bloodstream. So then you need an antibiotics as well to be able to fight both. So this will kill all the eggs and the ticks on the body, but then your antibiotics will kill everything in the blood as well. And that's how we treat parasites at the farm. What else do we do? So we also do a bit of supplement, right? So as I said, feed. Your feed is key. Yeah, you have all your minerals in the feed, but sometimes at certain stages, your animal might need extra supplement. It's just like a woman when you're pregnant, right? Even though you're eating all the, your orange or this thing, there's special supplements that you actually have to take to just help your body prepare for what is about to happen, right? So when our goats are pregnant, we actually supplement them with complex A and E, which is basically to help them with these minerals as they are, getting ready for labor. Another thing we also give them is actually copper zinc, because I know that with a pregnant woman you will need a lot of that. So that's just a supplement injection. Feed, you're getting it works slowly. This is your boom, magic for you as you're about to give birth. So we'll give complex A and E as well for you, and that's the trace minerals. Aside that, there's so many things that could happen with your goats in terms of changing diet. If that happens, you can have diarrhea. Diarrhea is tricky. I do not treat diarrhea till after 3 days. So if you see your goat running, please don't rush and give the goats medicine. Wait a little bit, give yourself 3 days. Mostly it's because of change of food. Goats are the second animal with the most fastest metabolism, right, aside deer. So if you give a goat like a specific food and the next day you change it, you should definitely know that that goat's stomach is going to change and you're going to have some diarrhea. But a normal diarrhea shouldn't take more than 3 days. The moment it's going beyond 3 days, then you know that you're dealing with a bacterial infection, and therefore you need to start treating it. The first treatment I will use is a diarrhea powder. This is also an effective one that I discovered in South Africa when I was there. Every farmer I visited had a diarrhea powder, and it's basically they will pick a spoon of it, put it in the mouth, the goat will eat it. It's not bitter, and then that's it. It will solve all the intestine issue that the goat is having, and will come back to its feet. But if it is still persisting, then you need to fight a bacteria. How do we fight a bacteria? fight the bacteria with an antibiotic. But if it is just a few days, then you just go with a diarrhea powder and that should stop. But you need to observe and make sure that whatever feed that you're giving to your goat, you introduce them to it slowly so that boom, you just don't change their diet in a day or so. Yeah, aside that, what else? I mean, I can go on and on and on. A farmer needs to have all these things. You need to always keep in your mind your vaccines, and you need to be on time, whether you're doing it 6 months. When do you give the first dose? When do you do your booster? I think when COVID happened, we all understood booster. So one round alone doesn't work. You need to go for your second booster as well. One thing about diarrhea is it could also lead to coccidiosis. So that's why whenever it prolongs for a while, you need to go back into your antibiotics and then use it. I've heard people talk about using pawpaw leaves and stuff for fighting, dewormings. I don't have the proof for it. I haven't tried. If you want to go very organic, please try it. Yeah, I think this is what I can share with you guys. I can go on and on. There's so many medications out there. There's so many ways to prevent, but I think these are the basics. In my next video next time, I will be able to take them one by one, vaccinations, parasites, bacterials, and then really go into details and have all the medications that we're going to use. But so far, I think this gives you an idea. And to the gentleman that have been eating his goats when they get sick, hopefully now you have something to work with. So I bring you more details about it. We're going to release another video when I get to the farm as well, where I'm going to walk you through practically how do you examine these goats and what are the things to look for as a farmer in order to tell which of all these medications that you're going to use. I hope this is helpful. Please write in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Add your contributions to it. As I said before, this is just my experience. All those experienced farmers out there, add your voices to it so that in 10 years, maybe when somebody picks this video, they might learn and learn yours as well. And together, they might save their farm from, diseases. So thank you guys so much. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And thank you for watching.